So it's old news that My Little Pony includes lots of stuff and creatures from mythology, whether it's Greek mythology or Irish mythology or whatever. Well, while looking into certain things about the My Little Pony villains, I remembered Auizotle. And I remembered I have no clue what he is. And I just remember watching that episode for the first time, Daring Don't, and I remember thinking, like, what is this thing? What is this monster? It's just really weird. So I decided to do some research on it, and when thinking about it more, I decided to just make a show out of it, maybe a weekly or bi-weekly show. So it's going to be called My Little Mythology, and I'm really excited to begin with this episode. Keep in mind, I haven't finished season 5 and I haven't read the comics, so if we learn any new information about Auizotle that I haven't mentioned here, that's why. So what is Auizotle? He's a creature called an Auizotle. That's actually the name of this kind of monster. So when you first look at him, you're thinking, what the heck? He's got dog feet, he's got pointy cat-like ears, monkey hands, he's got this Aztec looking jewelry on, and a very odd elongated head and his face, and that's what first threw me. I remember thinking the design was terrible looking at this thing. And then he's got this hand attached to his tail, which is really creepy and weird. So this creature is of Aztec origins, and of course I did tons of research on this thing. The Auizotle was named after an emperor who ruled from 1486 to 1502. They called it the Auizotle, but then they also called it the Thorny One, because this creature lived in the water, and when it came up out of the water, its tail would clump together in spikes. It had short fur, small pointed ears, a smooth body, and a black tail, at the end of which sprouted a hand, much like a person's, or a monkey's. So the thing about this animal that I found interesting that they did not incorporate in the show is that it lives in water. It lives in lakes, rivers, springs, streams, stuff like that. So I don't understand why they didn't incorporate that into the show, because I think that's one of the major aspects of this ancient creature. So this creature is very aggressive, and the creepiest part is how it kills its victims. It uses its tail hand to drag people into the water by their ankles when they walk by. It then drags the body underwater, eats its eyes, teeth, and nails. And then when the bodies surfaced, the bodies were apparently considered precious, and only the priests could remove them from the water. They were considered to be precious because the people who were killed by the Auizotle were believed to travel directly to paradise, because that was the home of the water god, and they thought that the water god selected these people to be killed by the Auizotle because they were good people and they were rewarded with this eternity in paradise. And so that's why when people's bodies floated up from being drowned or supposedly eaten by the Auizotle, that's what would happen. They would be honored, pretty much, to be killed by this thing. The Auizotle has been classified as a myth because no evidence of it actually existing has ever been found. It's thought to have been based on otters, possums, wild dogs, beavers, monkeys, things like that, animals that have similar qualities to this thing, such as otters living in water and having spiky fur when they come out, the possums with their hands, and it's got very dog-like qualities also. Another extremely creepy thing about this monster, if it hasn't eaten in a while and it was really hungry, it would make the sounds of a crying baby or a crying child to lure people at night into the rivers. So that's what an Auizotle is. Like I said, I'm kind of disappointed they left out the water aspect. I mean, he tried to drown Daring Do with piranhas, but that's as close as he ever gets to water. Also, his plan to make the world extremely hot for 800 years doesn't make much sense when you think that he lives in water, because that would dry up a lot of the water. Unless his plan is to use that to get people to go to water when it's scarce so he could drag them in and eat them. Anyway. So now that we've completely covered what kind of monster he is, let's talk about the next thing. The ponies that follow him. You can tell these ponies are clearly Aztec in look, and design. There's only 3 designs, and the rest are just recolors of the same 3 designs. And all their cutie marks are the same 3 designs. The cutie marks are these leopard or jaguar spots. I think that's what they are. This kind of Aztec glyph, and then an Aztec temple. So that's all they have, and then the rest are just recolors. But they don't talk at all, but I wonder if perhaps they worship Auizotle as a god. Maybe because he's close to the water god, and these are obviously some kind of native people to this land that we haven't been to before. Leave a comment saying which monster you'd like me to research next. Hopefully this show will end up being a weekly thing, if not, hopefully bi-weekly, and my normal videos, the pony tutorials and stuff like that, I've got a couple other projects coming up. Those will be out when they're out. I do my best to find time to work on this stuff. I've recently been going through a move, so that's been taking up a lot of my time right now. But until next video, guys.